Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to webinar 4 of a series of 5, which are all part of the Tees Valley Trailblazers competition. I hope that you found the previous 3 sessions useful and have some ideas as to what business you might like to run in your school. I know some of you have already met your business ambassadors and they're really excited to be working with you all. This afternoon, I am joined by Laura Nolan, who works as an accounts senior at Assets. She's been working with this industry for nearly 6 years and started her career straight from school by doing an apprenticeship with Middlesbrough College. Assets is a global company and has a network of over 85 European offices. Laura works for the Assets office that is based in Wynyard. Assets are an accountancy firm who offer financial advice and support for businesses, particularly making sure that the companies they work with can do their sums correctly. Laura is going to talk to you this afternoon about money. In particular, she's going to talk about how important it is to make sure that you charge the right price for what you are selling. Don't forget to type any questions you might have in the chat facility as Laura is talking, and I will ask as many as I can at the end. So, without further ado, over to you, Laura.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm doing the Show Me the Money segment today for the Trailblazers. So this is going to be all about profit and loss, what sort of selling price you should be using and all things like that, okay? So we're going to start off with a profit and loss. Okay, so profit and loss is basically a sum between your selling price less any costs incurred to make this product or to have the service of this product. So the profit or loss, so after this sum, you either have a profit or a loss after it. So a profit is basically that your product or service is making money. The sales and the selling price are covering all of the expenses incurred, and it's exceeding the expenses. So then you have a sum of money left at the end that sometimes directors keep for themselves or they keep within the business to help the business grow even further. So then the opposite side to that is a loss. And a loss is when your expenses, your sales price is not covering the cost of your expenses. And it means that you might having to put your own money, more money into the business, and your sales are just not covering them expenses. I think a profit and loss is better to explain with numbers and being able to see a business side of it. So we're going to do that today. So we're going to bake a cake. Now, I don't know what some of the business things that you've decided to do, but some people might decide that they want to sell cakes. I don't know, but that's what we're going to do today. So can anyone tell me what ingredients we need to bake a cake? I'm sure a lot of you have baked cakes before.
So Laura, we've got flour, sugar, eggs, chocolate.
Yeah, so that's right. So for this cake, in particular today, we need sugar, we need eggs, we need butter, flour, we need some lemon zest, and we need some vanilla extract. So the amounts of these ingredients are all here. So we need 100 grams of caster sugar, 4 eggs, 100 grams of butter, 200 grams of flour, half a lemon zest, and 1 tablespoon of extract. So these are all the costs that we need to create our cake that we are then going to sell on. So we're going to find the cost for each ingredient, and then we have a total cost in total to bake this cake. So for the sugar, it costs £1 for 1 kilogram of sugar. So how much will it be for our 100 grams of sugar that we need to use to bake this cake? Can anyone tell me that? How much will it be for the 100 grams of sugar?
Yeah, so I think we have got a bit of a delay on the YouTube channel, but if we said 10 pence.
10 pence, great. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so it costs £1.20 for 8 eggs. How much will it cost for 4 eggs, the 4 eggs that we need in our cake?
So we're saying 60 pence.
Great, that's right. Okay, so it costs £1 for 500 grams of butter. How much will it cost for the 100 grams that we need?
So 20 pence.
Great, that's right. It costs £1 for 1 kilograms of flour, and we need 200 grams. Can anyone tell me how much it is for the 200 grams of flour that we need to use for the cake?
20 pence.
Great. Okay, so then we've got the lemon, and it costs 50 pence for just 1 lemon. So how much will it cost for half of the lemon?
So 25 pence.
Great. And then finally, we have the vanilla extract. So we need 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and it costs 50 pence for 10 tablespoons. Can anyone tell me how much it costs for that 1 tablespoon that we need?
So we've got 5 pence.
Great. Okay, so now we have the total. We have the individual costs for each of our ingredients. We've got the sugar, the eggs, the butter, the flour, the lemon, and the vanilla extract. And that total cost is £1.40. So we've come up with that. To bake this cake that we are going to sell on, it's costing us £1.40 to get all of the ingredients to make this cake. So deciding our selling price, we want to make sure that we're covering the costs of them ingredients, and we also want to be making a profit. So deciding the selling price, you need to be thinking of market demand. Definitely, is your selling price competitive in that market? So we're selling our cake, well, our cake costs £1.40. Somewhere else down the road it might cost them £1.20, or it might cost them £1.60. We need to make sure that our price is not way out the picture, and it needs to be competitive with other people. We also, like I said earlier, we want it to be profitable, and we want some money left over, just for also if anything goes wrong, and just so that that selling price covers any mistakes that have happened, or just anything like that. So we are going to sell the cake for 25% more than what it costs to make the cake. So it cost us £1.40 to make the cake, but we want to sell it for 25% more than that, just so if anything does happen, it covers the mistakes that have been made maybe, and so we have that little bit of profit at the end, so we can take that money back home with us. Can anyone tell me what we think the selling price might be if it's going to be 25% more than what it costs to make the cake? So 25% more than £1.40.
So I think we're getting a few calculators out here, Laura.
Yeah.
So we've got £1.75.
That is great. Yeah, £1.75 is our selling price for this cake. Now that's going to be fixed selling price because we're going to be using them same ingredients every time, and we're going to be using the same amount for each different cake we make. So that is our fixed selling price. If mistakes happen, we have to stick with that selling price because it's not the customer's problem that we've made them mistakes. It's our own, and they are just mistakes, and mistakes happen. That's fine, but we'll stick with that £1.75 selling price. So let's have a look at this profit and loss that we've got from our cake. So our selling price of the sponge cake is £1.75. our cost to make the sponge cake is £1.40. Now, can anyone tell me what our profit is for this sponge cake? So to do that, you want to be having the selling price, £1.75, and then less any costs that have occurred in making this cake. So it'd be £1.75 less any costs to then have that profit or loss.
Yeah, so we've got 35 pence.
Great. So that is our total profit per sponge cake we're going to make, because remember, this is just for the price of one sponge cake we're making. Okay, so what if, like I said before, we've made a few mistakes. So while we've been making the cake, we actually dropped 2 eggs on the floor, and we also dropped 100 grams of flour on the floor. So for this cake, we've now used 6 eggs instead of 4, and we've used 300 grams of flour instead of 200 grams. So the cost of the eggs for this cake have increased by 30 pence. And the cost of the flour has increased by 10 pence. If it usually costs £1.40 to make a cake, how much will it cost us now after we've made these mistakes? Can anyone tell me that?
Okay, so we need to work this one out.
Yeah.
So it looks as though about £1.80.
Yeah, that's great. So our new cost, well, not our new cost, sorry, our cost to make this cake in particular, because we've made a few mistakes, is actually risen to £1.80. But like I said before, our selling price is sticking at £1.75. It's not the customer's fault that we've made a couple of mistakes, and these things happen. It can't be helped. But we've now made a loss of 5 pence instead of a profit of 35 pence. Now, this is the reason why we have chose that a selling price where there is that little bit of leeway. So you might make 3 cakes and get a profit of 35 pence every time for them 3 cakes you've made. And then you might make a 4th cake, and then you've actually made a loss on that cake of 5 pence because you've made a couple of mistakes. But when you look at it as a whole, you are still profit making from baking them 4 cakes, because your selling price is covering all of the costs of them 4 cakes still. So I'll just get my calculator. So the profit on 3 cakes with no mistakes is £1.05. Now, if our 4th cake is this cake that we've dropped some eggs and we've dropped some flour, and now we've actually made a loss on the cake of 5 pence, we've still made a total profit on them 4 cakes of £1, because the loss is used up within the profit that we've already made within the cakes that we've sold previously. So also, what if another person started selling some cake close by for £1.55, which is 20 pence less than what we are selling our cake for? This is like another really big reason that the selling price is so important, because sometimes people will be thinking, well, why would I choose to spend £1.75 on one cake when I can get it 20 pence cheaper down the road from someone else? So you need to think, do I need to lower my selling price? Is my selling price too high? If you change your selling price to be this £1.55 and match it to this competitor down the road, you'll still be making a profit each time, but you'll only be making 15 pence profit rather than the 35 pence profit that you were making before, which is obviously 20 pence less for each cake. But you might decide that, I think my cake is definitely worthy of this higher selling price. It's much tastier, it's much yummier. I put a lot of time and effort into this cake, and I think it's worth the extra 20 pence, and I think that my customers will come and recommend me and keep buying from me, and I'm going to keep it at that £1.75, and that is totally fine as well. But you just need to be sure that you are getting that supply and demand in from people, and you're getting the sales in, and you're still able to be making a profit with the highest selling price rather than lowering the price and not getting any more sales, and because your cake's not as tasty anymore. There's a lot of things to consider, really. Sorry, I'm just reading that. Yeah, so I think that the selling price, what you choose to do, is definitely the most important thing. I think with the product or service that you are choosing to sell, the best way to do it is to maybe do that cost analysis first, of doing the breakdown of what it's going to cost for each thing that you need to sell this product, and then thinking, well, I think I should have a 25% markup like we did earlier on this product, because I need to take into account for mistakes or different problems that might occur. Or you might think, oh, I only need a 10% markup because I don't think I'll make many mistakes at all. But it's just making sure that you get that right price, definitely. Okay. And I think that is it. So if anyone has any more questions, just hit them away.
Right, that's great. That's fantastic. Dead simple as well, Laura, so that the children can understand just what goes into pricing something. It's not as straightforward, is it? So we have got a few questions. So, and I think, you know, everyone makes mistakes, but it's just making sure that, as you say, if you've got 3 or 4 cakes, you can almost swallow a little bit of a loss in that. You're sort of making more volume of cakes. You don't really want to, and you didn't really want to drop those eggs, and you didn't really want to drop that flour, but things, you know, mistakes do happen. So, you know, it's worth factoring that in. So question is it worth finding out what other people are selling similar products for? So I know you gave an example there of someone down the road maybe selling a cake. Do you think it's worth the children finding out what other people are selling similar products for? And also, what happens if they've come up with an idea where somebody hasn't made it before? Or there's nothing in their area that people can, it might be interesting to sort of get your advice on what they should do then.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's worth looking at the price of similar products from different places you can buy them from first. That should maybe be your first point of call before you start looking at any costs, just to make sure that the cost that you're buying, the ingredients you're buying, the cost of them is the right price, and you're not buying too expensive ingredients. And if the product isn't on the market already, I think that using the cost method definitely would be helpful to find a selling price. Again, though, you just want to be making sure that you're not using your costs aren't as high as they should be. You know, especially with new businesses, you maybe want to be looking at a bit more cheaper products to buy in first, and then building up that company of more and more when you get more and more customers and more clientele, and then you can maybe up the purchases that you're buying, and maybe then when you have got a bigger customer and clientele base, you can maybe then think, oh, I'm going to start increasing my sales price more because I've got these new products that are more expensive, or I think that our company is worth more money now, so I think we should be selling more for our products. So yeah, but definitely like look for other products similar other similar products that are being sold elsewhere first, definitely, yes.
Yeah, and I guess that the lesson is, you know, at least cover your costs.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
At least you're not going to be out of pocket. And then, you know, what is reasonable in terms of a markup? What will your market pay for that? And as you say, investigate. They might not be able to buy that particular product in your area, but there might be other people selling it elsewhere that you can get a rough idea as to what the cost might look like.
Yeah.
So is it worth factoring in money just in case there are any mistakes? You know, so maybe from right from the very beginning, you maybe have like a buffer where you think, oh, just in case something does go wrong, well, maybe better factor in a little bit of money for that. What would be your advice then?
Yeah, I think that's why as well, I sort of use that 20%, 25% markup, just so that there is that buffer, like you said, and for mistakes, it's definitely useful to do that. It's always good just to have that little bit of that little pot for mistakes, because you don't know what's going to happen, and more than likely you are probably going to make a few mistakes in the beginning and in the first few times of selling things, and no one gets anything right first time round. So it's definitely have that little pot just in the little buffer to take into account for any mistakes that you've made. Definitely.
Yeah. And whenever you watch Dragon's Den and stuff, they always unpick the money, don't they? It's always that's always the downfall, isn't it? It's just just get their money right. So even I know these pupils who are participating are Case Stage 2 pupils, but you know, even adults don't.
Yeah, definitely.
It is, and when they're really, really, really pushed on those numbers, they just collapse. So those numbers are really important. And so maths obviously is really important to the young people.
Yeah, definitely.
The other question is, if you can justify charging more for your cake or biscuit or whatever it may be, should you just stick with your price? So even if your competitors are charging less, if you can justify to say ours is fresher or it's prettier or it's bigger, should you just stick with your price, or should you kind of think, oh, you know, maybe we should reduce it?
I think definitely stick with it. Definitely stick with it if you can justify it. And if you do notice a little fall, you could maybe do some offers. You could do 2 for 1 or buy 1 get 1 free. Just to get them customers back in and buying more cakes, and they can then tell people, oh, I've had this cake and it was yummy, you should try it. So if you can definitely justify it, then yeah, because the more profit is obviously better, and it means more money in your own pocket and in the business's pocket. But obviously you just need to be wary of the competition around, and you know, if you do notice a fall in your sales or in your customers, then maybe you should think about lowering the sale price or the selling price. But if you can definitely justify it and you think your product is worthy of that higher sales price, then yeah, go with it and stick with that higher selling price. Definitely.
And I guess what would your advice be to the pupils? Do you think it's worth them sort of giving talking to their audience, their market, and sort of giving an idea as to what they're doing and the sort of idea as to the cost, and then maybe getting feedback from their parents or their teachers or their business ambassador to sort of, you know, almost give them a range of prices and see what their market decides. On that, Laura?
Yeah, definitely. Market research is a big thing when you're starting up a new business. So going out and just doing that research, asking different people, you know, asking a various range of different people, whether that's your brothers or your sisters, your grandparents, your parents, your next door neighbours. So you've got a wide range of what different people would pay for your product, and then obviously you want to like get an average of that, and then that can also help with the costs and the ingredients. Or it's a cake again, the ingredients of baking a cake. If people are happy of spending like £2.50 on average, say, on a cake, you can maybe buy a little bit more nicer and more expensive ingredients than the ingredients we use today, because the demand is there to buy a cake for a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think people will pay for quality, they pay for the word fresh, they pay for all the environmental, you know, if it's eco-friendly, then again, you know, you're prepared to pay a little bit more. So yeah, as you say, sort of just maybe capturing that information and seeing what your market's prepared to pay. But then if you can justify because it's fresher or it's eco-friendly or whatever, then there is justification for that extra cost. And people will pay for that extra bit of something that's different to what they're used to buying. So that's fantastic. Well, I think that's been really useful, and we've all had to get our calculators out, I think, to work out a few of those sums. But I'm sure that the children will have understood exactly what profit and loss is, and hopefully they'll be making quite a lot of profit in their businesses. I'm sure we don't want to see too many losses through the process, but I guess it's learning why there was a loss, you know, what happened, and catching it early, and then being able to kind of think, oh, well, we maybe didn't charge enough for that. Maybe we need to, the next time we go and sell those cakes or biscuits or whatever it may be, we need to be thinking about almost recovering the money they've lost, and then making a little bit more. So no, thanks for that, Laura. That's been really helpful, and just actually shows the importance of the maths and knowing your numbers. So thank you to everyone who's joined us this afternoon. That's the fourth of a series of 5 webinars now for Tees Valley Trailblazers competition. We have one left, which is the 15th of April at 1 o'clock, and we're going to be giving you some advice on pitching. So we mentioned Dragon's Den before there. They have a set period of time where they have to pitch their idea. So what do you say? How do you say it? What do you not say? What do you do? What do you not do? So we've got some hints and tips from Joanna Wake from Baltic Apprenticeships, who's going to give you some hints and tips on how to pitch successfully. So once again, Laura, thank you very much. And we will be joining the students on the 15th of April to talk about pitching. So good luck, everyone. Keep going, and hope you have a lovely Easter.